Ride Marshal Ryan here. Today we're going to talk about changing a tire. Now, if you're on the police unity tour, the only thing you really need to change a tire is to have an extra tube with you in your back pocket. All you got to do is keep one of these and throw it to the guy that's going to change your tire for you. It'll do a lot faster. I'm not really sure how that procedure goes because unfortunately or fortunately, I've been lucky enough to never have to go to the flat tire trailer. But it is important to have a tube that fits your bike handy, just in case they don't have that tube. So you're going to want to keep that with you. But now let's say you're in your training ride because you found one good day to actually do a training ride, and you have a flat tire. Couple options. Number one, you could just call someone and have them pick you up and worry about changing a tire in a nice place. But if you don't want to spoil your ride, then there's a couple things you can do. A couple things that you're going to need to do this is a pump of some sort. I usually use a bike mounted pump. This is a really old school one. This looks like a Walmart special bike mounted pump. This isn't the one that's actually on my bike. In fact, today I'm going to show you on my wife's bike here. And then some tire levers. I like more than one, but however, you probably only need one tire lever. So a tire lever, bike pump, and you're ready to go. So today we're going to actually change the rear tire because it's a little bit more difficult. Front tire you can just pop off and change it. The rear tire requires a little bit more activity. So first we're going to loosen up the wheel. And this is where our hands are probably actually going to get dirty a little bit because we're going to actually have to manipulate the derailleur and pull our tire off. Might actually have to lift up on the chain a little bit here, and then out comes the tire. My wife's bike is very dirty. So this tire is going to be totally deflated of air, which will make it easier to pop that tire off. Now, getting a tire on and off, it's kind of a big pain in the butt. So the one thing you definitely need is a tire lever, I believe. These are nice because they're plastic. You don't want to really stick metal because you can gouge out the tire. You can cause a lot of bad things for you. So you try to roll the tire back, just a little bit of space, and get that lever underneath one side. You kind of want to just get the tire and not the tube. And you want all the way around. Now remember, you're not in a NASCAR pit crew, so time isn't really of the essence. You want to take your time and do this right. Because if you don't get this right, then your next tire you put on here is just going to pop anyway. So running your fingers through the tire and visually and physically inspect that tire to make sure there's not a piece of metal in there that's going to pop the next tube in there. You're going to want to do the same thing with the rim. Check your spokes too while you're doing this, making sure that they're all true. So, some people, mainly Tina Brown, have said, hey, my tire has a problem getting back on the rim because it's really, really tight. That's not the case with this one, but one thing you can do, if you have a real tight tire, is you can actually stand on it and pull up and stretch the tire. You can keep on going around in a circle and doing that. And that'll give your tire a little bit more flexibility to go back on the tire. So now we got our new tube and tire. We're going to put one bead of the tire on. It doesn't really matter where you start, but you want to get that one bead on. This should go on fairly easily. Now you get your brand new tube. This one looks exactly like the one I just had on, since it was. This is for demonstration only. You want to find that valve goes in. And this is kind of an important part. So what you want to do here is actually put a little bit of air in that tube. And that's important because it's going to stop that tube from getting punctured when you get further on this process. You don't need a lot of air, just enough air to show that it's not going to get punctured, and then guide that tube into the tire. Your hands are going to get dirty when this happens. Alright. So, I've seen this done a lot of different ways, but probably from people that I more respect. For whatever reason, they tell you to actually start from the stem. Then you're going to roll the other part of the tube down and go on both sides. Now, you want to be sure you don't have this where you have the tube punctured in there. You got to make sure that tube's in there. In fact, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put a little bit more air in my tube. Because if I pump this up and that's pinched, I'm going to have another flat tire. So, that'll help me. And if you put too much air on, it's going to be hard to get that tire on. Alright, once you get towards the end, this is where it's going to start to get tough. You might have to take some air out to get that bead on. But if you just keep rolling it, you can roll it away from you, then usually you can manipulate that bead on. Now, I have the bead on totally on both sides, but sometimes the tire is really hard to get on. I don't recommend doing this unless you absolutely have to, but you can take a tire lever and kind of pry that back on. Now, you're very prone to puncture if you do that, so I wouldn't recommend that. But in case of emergency, do what you gotta do. Then you gotta get that tire back up to a proper pressure. As far as bike pressure is concerned, anywhere between 100 and 120 is fine for what we're doing. If you want to be a professional racer, you can go it up to 120. Of course, there's different wheel sizes too. You might have different pressures. But once you get a little bit of air in that tire, the one thing you always want to do is do a little bit quick check and look for bulges. Make sure that tire is sitting perfectly on the rim. And this one looks pretty good. And then you can continue. You got to get inside that chain set, and you're going to actually have to push your derailleur out of the way. I wouldn't worry too much about the gears because they're going to kind of take care of themselves once you start pedaling. Should just snap back in place and then tighten it up. Now, if you worry about what gear you're on, simply just give it a little bit of pedal and it'll snap right in the gear that it's supposed to be.